what's happening? My name is Anthony Washington. This is Thoughts Process, brought to you by Thoughts Cost. Took a little bit of a hiatus, had to get some things right. But now I'm back for good. And yeah, we're just gonna be talking about a number of different topics that show up in the headlines throughout the week. Things that we feel are impacting society and impacting the way we think. And we'll just keep it really honest, keep it raw, and hope you guys enjoy Thoughts Process. From here on out, we'll not be going anywhere again. Alright. So today, I wanted to talk about voting. I've tried to finish my ballot a number of times, and I'm just having a hard time. With I'm gonna be honest with you. Really think everything's filled out except for who I'm voting for as far as president goes. And it made me think about a couple things. It made me been hearing a lot of people talk about voting. You got a lot of entertainers getting involved, and it's in some ways it's frustrating, and then in other ways I think I understand where all the energy's coming from. Just want to say this though. Donald Trump really shouldn't be the reason that you're voting. You know what I'm saying? Like, or the sole reason that you're voting. You should vote because it's your right. You have the right to vote. You should be connected and concerned with what's going on in our country, in our cities, in our counties. And Donald Trump should, his actions shouldn't be the determining factor for why you're voting for a certain party, or maybe a certain party, but it shouldn't be the determining factor in why you're voting. And I say that because there are many reasons to vote. There's a number of reasons to vote, and let's just think. You know what I'm saying? Before Donald Trump was president, there were many reasons to vote. After he's done with his presidency, with his term, there's going to still be many reasons to vote. And so I find it very, shallow. It's a limited stance when people say, we got to get this guy out of office. If that's the only reason you're voting, no judgment, but I don't agree with that. I think you should vote, and I think you should vote however you want to. And if it's you wanting to get Donald Trump out of office, more power to you. I just think it should be a little bit deeper than that. And I oftentimes hear disappointment when speaking about politics, because at this point it's more or less just we hate Donald Trump, right? Rather than infrastructure or any of the number of different issues that that he may be impacting. I'm not trying to act like he's not doing things to impact these areas, but I feel like if we focus more on those areas, we would realize that even if we couldn't fix everything, we could do a lot more than we're doing, regardless of who the president is. And so, it's always been frustrating. Or not always been frustrating, but it's been frustrating over the last couple months. You have people out here who are telling people who to vote for. That's not how voting works. You can't tell people who they can and can't vote for. You can't disagree with a party or a person for being forceful, for judging, right? for being upset when people don't think like him, and then turn around yourself and do that very thing. It's There's never an excuse to try to force people to vote for the same person that you're voting for. Um, I've seen people talk about we're not going to be friends if, and it's just like more power to you, but that's not how voting's supposed to work. You know, it's you could have two people in the same household voting for two different people. I mean, you shouldn't just necessarily agree with each other. Is what basically what I'm trying to say. And right now we're dealing with a time where it seems like everybody has to agree one way or the other, and I don't think like that. I think there's a lot of people that don't think like that, and I think there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable, they're uneasy about the situation, um, and so it's weird. Like white people telling me to vote, acting as if Donald Trump is the worst thing that's ever happened to America. I can't help but think about the history of the black community, and I'm just trying to find the president that was so great for us. We got a lot of symbolism in Obama. It's always cool to hear him speak. It's always cool to see him, um, speak on issues. And when he was president, it was had the little bop. He used to play hoop, but I won't say he didn't do anything for black people. But with the exception of, I'll say with the exception of Obama, and a lot of people would actually disagree with what I'm saying. But with the exception of Obama, right? Because we do get symbolism. If nothing else, we can aspire to be like him, and that's huge. If nothing else, what president have we had that's just done all these great things for the black community, to where we what excuse do we have for not having the urgency we have right now? What excuse, right? So when I think about white people, oh my gosh, we gotta vote. It just makes me think like you should always feel like that. There's never a time where you shouldn't feel that voting is important. There's never a time where you shouldn't feel that voting is something that should be done. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like the country is in disarray right now, if you feel like we're headed for destruction and all these different things, just think about how black people feel. Think about how um, brown people feel. Think about how poor white people feel. Even if we don't have the same viewpoints, right? And a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of them, but it, from what they're showing in the media, it seems that there are poor white people that think Trump is the answer. Why do they think that? Are they upset? Are they sick and tired of being sick and tired? I don't think it's, there's a lot of games being played, but I think the sense of urgency should always be there, whether you're black or white. Um, White people, that's one thing. So I noticed their urgency to vote this year. They vote. Some of the people that I've talked to, they voted for the last few elections, but just this year, it just seems like it's that much more important. And again, it just comes back to Trump. For me, I think it is important, but I think every election is important. I think whether you decide to vote or not is up to you. But every election should have this sense of urgency, right? And I think it's disappointing when you don't see that. And speaking directly to black people who feel it's like if we don't vote we're gonna die. It's like, where have y'all been? You know, did y'all not live through the Reagan era? You know what I'm saying? Like where have y'all been? You know, the crime bill was signed in '94 um, by Biden. Well, it was signed by President Clinton, who some black people consider the blackest president, which makes no sense. Um, it was orchestrated by Biden, so it's you. When hasn't there been a need for a sense of urgency in the black community when it comes to voting, when it comes to politics, when it comes to economics? You know, when have we ever gone through a time where it wasn't critical for us to organize? When it wasn't critical for us to look deeper than that surface level when it comes to the people that we're putting in office, you know. So I'm disappointed during this time because you know if you're somebody that believes in voting, um, vote how you want to vote. If you're somebody that believes that everybody has the right to vote for who they want to vote for, shut up. Vote and you know wait for the results, man. But I think people should stop trying to put all this pressure on people to vote. Um, you know, put pressure on people to volunteer in schools. Uh, put pressure on people to help the homeless. You know, there's a lot of things that we should be showing urgency over, and we don't, right? And I almost feel like some of this urgency has to do more with it just being a trendy thing. We see this a lot nowadays with the woke crowd, where you know something happens, uh, social media gets a hold of it, and all of a sudden everybody's posting about it. And I can't help but think that some of the urgency, some of this energy, this frantic energy around voting, has to do with you know the trending. Like it's trendy. It's the thing to do right now. And it just so happens that it's also a very important election. I don't want to act like it's not an important election. I just feel like you know there's issues that we could be focusing more on that would help certain communities rather than focusing on Donald Trump, who we've known his thought process for a very long time. We know how he thinks. We know the type of businessman he is, right? We may not have known his taxes and things like that, but we had a very long preview of what a Donald Trump presidency could be like. And you know, I'm not telling people not to be upset. I just feel like now that we know we need to move on. We need to figure out what we can change, regardless of who's in office. And this is as just as people. Period. You know, you could break it down into specific communities, but um, it's one of those things where right now you have a bunch of people focusing on rappers, right? Ice Cube, Lil Wayne. Um, I have a couple things to say about that, but it's just like y'all are focusing on the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys are focusing on the wrong people. Um, you know, we know who voted Donald Trump in, and it wasn't black rappers. There's not enough black rappers to even uh, to vote him in. Right? And as much influence as they have, the influence that they have, and I might be wrong, but I'm gonna say it. A lot of the people that are influenced by a Lil Wayne and Ice Cube ain't voting, and if they are voting, they're not gonna base their votes off of Ice Cube and Lil Wayne. And I think it's interesting. Ice Cube hadn't even said who he's voting for, right? What people don't understand about what Ice Cube is doing, you had a lot of civil rights leaders in the 1960s that talked about using their vote for leverage, right? Is the platinum plan the answer? Probably not. Is the platinum plan in some ways disrespectful to be called a platinum plan? Yeah. Um, but what Ice Cube is attempting to do is um, use the black vote in order to influence change in our communities by basically holding it hostage. I mean, that's really what the idea is. You know what I'm saying? If you're not doing nothing for us, we ain't voting for you, regardless of who you are. And it takes a very free thinker to think like that, especially right now when everybody is saying you have to vote for this person. Um, is the timing off a little bit? I don't know. I don't know. When else would you do it? I think personally, if there's ever a time where you wanted people to understand where a group of people was coming from and to really hear it, I think it would be now, right? It would be now. You know, we got a couple days left, and we're not monolithic. We're not this, you know. It's not like we're the most organized group. But just imagine if we said, look, as a whole, as a collective, we don't know who we're voting for yet, and nothing's been done in the community, right? And so until contracts are signed, until money, switches hands, until buildings and property are given, we're not voting for either of y'all, right? Because ultimately, it doesn't matter which one of y'all is in office, our lives are going to be impacted differently than everybody else that has all this urgency behind them. Our lives are going to continue to be impacted negatively, right? And so who's going to change that? I think that's very valid. I think Democrats have had a number of years to where they've talked a lot about what they're going to do, what changes they're going to make. But if you look at communities that they've talked about that in, you can make an argument that not much has changed. And we don't even got to talk about Republicans, but Republicans are pretty much in the same boat when it comes to the black community. And so you had two parties that we had to vote for, right? That was the other part. Just really quickly. So look at my presidential ballot. As I look at it, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 options. Okay, that's the state of Washington. We got 6 options, and so although people are making you feel like you only have 2 choices. You have more than 2 choices. Okay. And so for the person that feels like both parties suck, there are options for that. You shouldn't allow others to make you feel like you only have 2 choices. I just want to throw that out there. But back to what Ice Cube is attempting to do. The problem that I have with it is, he said a couple things that kind of, there's truth to them, but it's not the whole truth. Okay, and so, we think about people in the community that have been fighting for justice. We think about people in the community that have that essentially dedicated their lives to fighting injustice, right? Fighting for justice. And Ice Cube made a point. He basically questioned, what changes come. These people have been around. These community leaders have been around for a number of years, and no changes come. And that might be true for some, right? But the thing that's disappointed me about some of the things that Ice Cube is saying is this is a dude that at one point was after police, like, he gave young black males a voice. He gave us a voice. And, you know, it's it's crazy to me that he doesn't remember how the government tried to take that voice away. People in our own community tried to take that voice away. Um, they took the impact of his words away. They try to make it to where people couldn't hear those words. And so for me, I feel like he's ignoring the many people in the community that have been silenced. Right? It's not that they're not doing anything. They don't get the access, the platform. They don't, when the city's asking people from the community to come speak, they're not asking certain leaders because they know certain leaders are going to say things that the city may not want people to hear, right? The nation may not want people to hear. And so when Ice Cube said, he basically just criticized anybody that's been working in the community for years, right? He criticized all of them, whether they're doing good or bad, by saying what he said. And so I would have hoped that he would have distinguished, like, there's some people in the community that are doing a lot, and as a result, they're seen as a threat. Because that would have been a very valid reason that they may not be able to do some of the things that Ice Cube feels he's doing. And then there's others that ain't doing nothing, right? And they're taking advantage of their position and doing very little to actually help the community, to advocate for the people in the community. And so I would ask Ice Cube, why are you talking, right? And not because he's a rapper, not because he is a director or whatever. I've heard a number of reasons why he should be written off. Do you not know anybody in the community? Do you not know any community leaders, locally or nationally, that have been saying similar things, that have been attempting to do what you're doing? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. He might have a team of these people, and they might feel like, yo, Ice Cube, bro, I think he'd be more powerful if you said it, right? And if that's the case, then who am I to judge that, right? If you got community leaders actually encouraging you to be the one to speak, then I take what I'm saying back. But if not, these entertainers, like Lil Wayne, why didn't you bring, somebody from the community with you to that meeting? Why aren't community leaders speaking for black people? Why is it always it's the Cardi B's and the Ice Cubes? And Ice Cube makes a little bit more sense than the others, but even that, it just doesn't. It ultimately doesn't make sense, Yeah, so I always feel like anytime you see entertainers, athletes, who all have the right to speak up, who all should speak up, I just wish they would bring that expert along, right? Because I agree, you don't gotta be an expert to speak up. As an American, as a human, you have the right to speak up, to say how you feel. But when you have access to the community, and you also have access to this mainstream world, you have the opportunity to be a bridge. And if we don't utilize that opportunity to put communities together in positive ways, to where people can be heard, the voices can be heard, then ultimately whatever goals you have are going to fall short. We have to understand that these guys are being looked at as a joke. By Lil Wayne, I'm sorry. Ice Cube and Lil Wayne are in the same boat. Ice Cube's direction may not be where you want it to be, but don't clump all these guys in the same boat. Ice Cube is trying to be politically He's trying to be active, right? He's trying to make people aware of options and strategy that Malcolm X used to talk about. Claude Anderson. You got all these people that talked about the very thing that Ice Cube is trying to do, and then you clump him in a category with Lil Wayne, who looks like a damn fool um, in that picture with Trump, who sounds like a damn fool. It sounded like a damn fool for a very long time. And I'm gonna say something that's really unpopular, and I actually said this before I saw that picture, before I knew he talked to Trump. Um, I tried to go back and listen to a couple Wayne albums, like Carter and Carter 2. Can't touch those. Those are classics. But I was listening to No Sinners the other day, and I remember liking like 8 songs off of that mixtape. And maybe my taste has just changed so much, but I came away only liking like 1 or 2 songs. Um, and I was like, man, Lil Wayne, very, very talented, but he's not as good as we've always thought he was. Right? He's not as intelligent as some of us have given him credit for because of his wordplay. Um, I consider Lil Wayne like he's a rich dummy. I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, um, some of the things he says is just like, what? Like, why? What are you talking about? And so it's upsetting that Lil Wayne and Ice Cube are being put in the same category. Uh, when Ice Cube hasn't even said he's endorsed anyone, Lil Wayne has clearly endorsed Trump. He looks like an idiot doing it. I can't say that enough. But it's just one of those things where we get so caught up in this stuff that we don't take the time to understand, like, Lil Wayne's, he's been saying stupid stuff like this, but yet we're gonna spend a week, 2 weeks on it, gonna criticize these rappers and act like they're gonna be the reasons why Trump's gonna be reelected. There's a lot of people that we should be focusing on if we're thinking about influencing people to vote for one or the other. I don't think Lil Wayne. I think he's looked at when he does stuff like this. It's more like this dude's a joke than okay. Lil Wayne's endorsing him. I'm gonna endorse him too. It's not. Some of the media coverage on it is even disrespectful. Like, what do you think? How do you think black people think? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just some of the things that have been said. Like, oh my gosh, this. I ain't thinking like that. No, I don't think a lot of people are thinking like that. I don't think you have, and I can't speak for everyone in the country. Maybe Seattle's different, but I don't think Lil Wayne is going to influence anyone that I know to vote for Trump or if he endorsed Biden to vote for Biden. So I think the focus on it is just too much. There's so many things that we could focus on, and yet we're focusing on rappers being politically active, whether wrong or right. And so I just feel like we got to shift our mindset and look at the bigger picture. There's a lot of things on this ballot, locally speaking, that hopefully the research is being done. Hopefully you're spending this much energy and using the same amount of urgency to figure out, Senate bills and the charter amendments for law enforcement and all these. There's a number of things locally and nationally that we need to focus on. Yet we're focused on some rappers, and we're over here trying to force people to vote for one way or another, or vote one way or another. And I think we can utilize our time more efficiently. if we just start to look at the bigger picture, we start to understand that this system is in place, and although a person can make a system worse, there's a system that even if it goes back to normal, it's only going to go back to normal for a few people, right? You'll still have the conditions that you have in certain neighborhoods. This is white, black, Latino, whatever. You'll still have a lot of the issues that you have right now, that you have 5 years ago, no matter who's in office. And I think a large part of that is because we focus so much, we emphasize the power of a president that we fail to realize how much power we have as people. And I hope as y'all finish voting or you voted, I hope that you voted based on your experience, based on your viewpoints, and not just because Donald Trump is in office and we need to get him out. And if you did, no judgment, but I just think we need to open up our minds a little bit more. And this is for me too, right? It's not. I'm not criticizing. I just really feel like we're emphasizing the wrong things, right? Not saying don't vote. Not saying vote for Trump. Not saying, but we need to really look at the bigger picture. And we need to understand that by forcing people to vote for one, or making people feel they have to vote, you're also shitting on the democratic process. So when you're criticizing one group for shitting on the democratic process, and then you turn around and you're telling people who they have to vote for, that's not democratic, right? And so I think we should all take a look in the mirror. We should vote for who we think is the right candidate, for who we feel will embrace the things we want and need, right? But ultimately, that's your business. You get to decide who you're gonna vote for. You get to decide what you want for the next 4 years. All right? And for those that are telling people we're not gonna be friends, or you can't do this, or yada yada yada, if you vote for this, you're voting for racism. It means you're racist, or you're homophobic, or you gotta calm down with all that. We live in the United States of America. The system is inherently racist, right? There's components of the system, that are inherently racist. So acting like a president voting for a president makes, what if they're just thinking about taxes? And again, so you're just gonna ignore, you're gonna think about your money, and some people do that. That's what some people do. I'm not saying that's what I do, but you can't get mad at somebody for thinking about taxes, even though I think it's only like a 2%, Biden compared to Trump, it's only like 2% difference or something like that. I think I was saying that, but people are gonna vote the way they feel they need to vote, right? And the reason why certain groups should or have to vote from a communal standpoint is because if they don't, then they put their community in a position to lose out, right? But even with that, we know that everybody doesn't think the same. We know that we could have the same experience, and we might come from two different households, which means we have two different sets of values, which means we probably have two different ways to think. And regardless of skin color, regardless of anything, people have the right to think differently than you. And I don't want to, talk your ear off about it, but I just really feel like we all need to take a step back, really understand what the democratic process is, and really understand that, everybody has the right to vote for who they want to vote for. I think we make ourselves look bad. I think we're contradicting ourselves when we're out here telling people they have to vote for a certain person. Um, you know, Clearly there are things being done where you would hope that people are taking that stuff into account when they vote. But even with that, you can't tell people how and who to vote for, right? You can give them information. You can talk about who you want to vote for, but that shouldn't then turn into a you're voting for them too type of situation. It's just not. That's not fair. That's not how voting is supposed to work. And you know, yeah. So I just I challenge everyone to calm down a little bit, vote, give people information on the candidate that you feel will do the best job, and let other people think and make their own decisions. It's not your job, you know. And if you are gonna force people to do something or guilt trip them into doing something, or let it be something like volunteering in schools, where um, children need support. Like I said, homeless. There's just a number of issues that need that urgency that don't get it. But don't make people feel like if they disagree with you, they're wrong. Because then you end up being wrong. It's not cool. And if we really feel like the things that Trump or anybody are doing are wrong, we have to take a look at ourselves. We have to understand that we can also do wrong too when we're trying to do right. And that's what I'm saying. And yeah, I just want y'all to understand we're gonna get through this. So regardless of who's in office, we got to start thinking more communally. We got to start thinking within and just embracing our own ability to strive, even in the face of adversity. And I'm saying all of this. I will say this. Uh, right now, the country doesn't seem like the United States of America. It seems like we're slowly becoming something else. And that's scary. It's very scary. So I know who I'm voting for. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm not getting on here telling you who to vote for. I know why I'm voting, right? You see certain things happening with laws, and there's things happening I didn't think a president was allowed to do. Thinking about the branches of government and all that type of stuff. There's things that are happening where I didn't think, Congress, there's just so many things happening where it's just like, yo, that's legal? And then if it's not legal, what's going on? And so it's hard for me to say this, but, as a black man, there's times where I don't feel like I'm an American, man. Let me just be honest with you, and then there's situations like this where I feel obligated to think as an American, right? Proudly so. Because I feel like everything that I've embraced about America, everything that I've come to understand about America, right or wrong, is being shifted. And it's not being shifted in a positive way. It's being shifted in a way to where it's gonna make things that much worse in a lot of ways. But even with that, right, you hear what I'm saying, I still will not tell you who to vote for. It's just that's not my job. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna get out on that note, and let me know what you think in the comments. If you disagree, agree, doesn't matter. Just want to get these thoughts out there, and I want to hear your thoughts too. So let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, hit the like button.